This is always the fucking hard part. I hate this.
And I listen to you. I listen to you read the opener every week. You're like, you must fucking hate the opener.
I hate the opener.
Why don't you just pre-record a general one?
Pre-record a general one is a great idea. Jamie Soward, welcome to the show. So that is my segue into welcoming Premiership winner Jamie Soward. Thanks for joining us here on the Buy Round, my friend.
Thanks, mate. We got to hang out last night. It was good.
Yeah, we sure did. It was, mate, I know both states are passionate about their team, but sitting next to you, I feel like my arm is still recovering from the amount of whacks I was getting when New South Wales were mounting that comeback. You were very excited.
Yeah, I love rugby league. I'm passionate about state of origin. I'm passionate about, Australia winning when they play in test matches. But it was nice to sit down and enjoy it with another footy head, because I know how passionate you are about footy and where you've come from in your journey. And I drove home and my wife actually said to me, how was James? Because we've obviously played against each other. And I said, he must hate me because I just kept hitting his leg and I was hitting his arm and I was up and about. And she's like, were you just yourself? I said, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all in. I just thought it would have been a great story for New South Wales to come back and win. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But it was really cool to hang out and talk footy with you.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was a roller coaster of feelings, of a range of emotions. It was a fun game, and it's setting up nicely for Game 3 decider. Thankfully,
it's setting up for a lot of storylines going into Game 3. How do I said last night, I'll be interested to see how Laurie Daly attacks this and what he's learnt spending time away from the New South Wales setup and how he's become a better coach, because he's obviously a better coach. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got him back. How does Billy spin the narrative again for Queensland? They've dug right into the dungeon of getting this amazing win that no one gave him a hope for. Well, how does he retell another story and get them up for that? So I look at that side of it versus the players will sort it out, but I want the other side of it, how tactically those coaches go after it.
Hopefully the players do sort it out.
Yes, we were very vocal last night. I knew Ash would probably have some leeway early to get Queensland, I thought, into the game, and that's not being unfair. I think that's just what we expected. But 8-0 penalty count at halftime seemed very lopsided, and I said to you before we started, like the second half, he got out of the way and it was 24 or 18-0. So, I think Game 3, it just has all the makings to be a classic.
Hopefully, like we say, the players do decide. We're here on the Buy Round, but this is not the only podcast we can find you on. You are currently, you've got your own show with the Rugby League Guru.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that, where we can find it, what sets it apart.
Yeah, Take the Two. It's for the Rugby League nuffies, like the deep dive, tactical stuff that you don't always hear on podcasts. It's not too many storytellings. It's more about what we're seeing in players. The one thing I love about Nath is he's unapologetically in love with rugby league, and he lets me have my views and we go back and forth on things, and but he's a real student of the game and he loves the game. And we talk about the old Lang Park. We still call it Lang Park, we don't call it Suncorp. We've got that passion that we take it to places that I think it's a niche market. It's not a generalised, this is what we're seeing. We're digging into like the four defenders,
the nitty gritty, the tactical break. Almost, would it be best to describe as almost a video session for the fans, a team in-depth review preview?
Yeah.
So like you and I have both sat in those planning meetings, those review meetings, and it's studied to under the, like a forensic.
Yep.
Is that the gist of the show, to take the fan behind the scenes, to show them things that most people would miss?
Yeah, and to probably generate more pub conversation about when people are watching it, and to challenge them how they watch the game. so many times we watch rugby league now in a either betting lens, Supercoach lens, or a supporting your team lens. I'd like to take it to that other side where you're looking at players and you're asking, why did Isaiah Katoa, get to that forward defender so easily, and how didn't they put pressure on him? And why is Cody Nikorima going fast when Isaiah Katoa is going slow? And how does that get Herbie Farnworth into the game? And why is that left edge so lethal versus, he just held the 4-man? And everyone goes, well, that must be it.
Yeah.
Take you behind the curtain, explain it in a deep way that hopefully you can get something out of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people watch the game. Most people don't see the game. And also, I like to watch people watching. So if you're at a pub or over at a friend's house, like, I'll watch them watching the game. And a lot of people are on their phones. I'm like, you're not watching the game.
Well, they're checking Supercoach.
Yeah.
Or they're checking their multi.
Or even, someone's tweeting about the game. It's like, wow.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but in 2014, when we played you in that major semi to get in the grand final, we actually went and watched you because we had the week off. So we went and watched you at the SFS. I think
Against
you played
Manly.
And we wanted to work out.
Who's we?
Me, Ivan Cleary, David Fairley, Peter Wallace, I think it was, the 4 of us. And we wanted to work out how because that was when you'd almost changed the game, and I hope I'm not embarrassing you, but you changed the way that middle forwards, and not just 13s, but middle forwards were taking it to the line, skipping across one defender and being able to execute and get it to an edge really, really quickly, but also have that effectiveness to be able to run and get in between two and create a quick play the ball, right? Which is what your style was. So we wanted to work out if we were going to load up one side and get you from the inside, which is what we ended up trying to do. I can't remember. I didn't watch back because we lost, so I didn't watch that game. But we wanted to try and put pressure from the marker to try and rush out, and then the second marker tie into the open side, and then just come up and try and shut you down straight away and limit your ability to come into the line deep and us to be on an edge panicking, right? So I remember going there and watching that and thinking, okay, I can see what he's trying to do. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it for the amount of minutes he's on, because you've got to take in time of possession, fatigue, all that kind of stuff. But I do remember going and watching that game and trying to work that out. And then in retirement, I think you see football so much clearer than what you do when you're playing, because you're focused on the game that's just happened, the game that's happening. Whereas now we watch it in a whole and we're like, did you see that? Did you see that? And it's more enjoyable.
Obviously, you spent a little bit of time coaching. Do you watch it differently as a pundit to a coach?
Not so too much differently. I probably, as a coach, again, you're back in that what have we done, where are we going sort of mentality, whereas a pundit, I'd probably just watch it as a whole. I enjoy it a lot more. I go to sleep straight after the game. I don't have to review, preview, all that kind of stuff. But I enjoy watching people think outside the square of kick to a corner, that kind of stuff, how they change momentum. That's why I'm such a big fan of DCE over the years, is step up, play 3 kick. And we saw in Origin last night, at times Munster had that big presence about him. So I watch it a lot differently now to when I was a coach and to even when I was a player. Like, I'd watched a lot of footy. I'd watch every game every weekend, but I wouldn't really see it as a study to the point where I see it now.
You obviously were involved in the coaching arena. You still are with the Samoan women's national team. Is there? I know you've got another role with the government. You're balancing that with your punditry with Rugby League Guru. But is there an ambition to get fully into coaching?
I was fully invested.
Not
probably too invested for the women's space at the moment. I was intense. I've been in those environments where it's long years and you've probably got time to take the pedal off, but the women's space at the moment is such a short season, you pretty much have to win straight away. So I think I learned a lot about myself stepping away, or getting rissoled from that, and then taking it straight into Samoa, where we qualified for the World Cup. I'd learned a lot about myself in the space of 2 months. I'd had my footy identity taken away from me again, like you do after retirement. Yeah, athletes feel that, and I felt that as a coach. I felt like the Dragons had dumped me and left me out to dry as the main reason, and maybe I was for some of those reasons. I couldn't care less at the moment, but do I want to get into coaching full time, like on the men's side? There's an interest there, but right now I'm so happy with what I'm doing in the government and, you know, on the Aboriginal side, trying to get people involved in, you know, in pathways into government, and I've got a really good team that support me in doing still my footy stuff. And the Whetū Samoa journey that we're on is something really special. To be in charge of that the last 2 years has been really good. I have been told that my style might be suited to men's a little bit more, but I love doing this, mate. I love the pressure of finishing this, talking footy with you last night, going home, not thinking, how am I going to get this message across, all that kind of stuff. And maybe I was a bit too young for it, to be honest. Like, I'd never coached before. I'd never had a head coaching role before. And to get given a program and I think take it to where the juniors, you know, are pretty good down there. Grand final first year. I think I'd be better. If I went back right now, I'd be way better because I would have learned so much.
Yeah. You mentioned there about being potentially suited to the men's game. What is the key differences from a coaching perspective? Like, what is it? Because, you know, I look at blueprints or approaches of coaching across codes, across sports. A lot of the fundamentals are the same. There's nuanced differences, but what are those changes? Is it big picture stuff? Is it small picture stuff? Tactics, people skills, people management. Obviously, there are huge biological differences. But what is it that stood out for you in terms of the difference?
Yeah, I think we wanted to be a footballer our whole life. That's all we wanted to do. And the women's space is growing so fast right now, and it's a great product to watch. But some of the females didn't want to be football players when they were growing up. They wanted to be other things. And then they've come into a space really quickly, and we probably assume that they know or understand a lot more of the lingo and the skill level that they probably do at the moment. And it's growing at a rapid rate. And I mean, I'm a big advocate for what is coming, and I think it's going to be full time, and they deserve that. But the other thing on the men's side is you've got time. You know, if someone comes to you in pre-season in November and isn't fit, you got 3 months of running, so it's not such a huge deal. Yeah, if an athlete comes to you and you've got 7 weeks to get them fit, plus you've got to fit skill in, plus you've got to fit weights in, like, it's extremely hard to concentrate on everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would have seen it at the Dogs. Like, guys come in, they're not fit, they run more than they do other stuff.
Yeah.
And they're penalised for that. They've got all day, they go home. You know, we're in a space right now for the female game where we're asking them to work, and then I'm asking them to come to training and get yelled at and get fit. So they're doing 12-hour days.
Yeah.
So then off the back of that, you got to take away something to concentrate on something else. I think that was probably the hardest thing to realise. And the other space is, like, you have to win straight away. It's a 10-game season. You can, yeah, the Dolphins started 0-4. They look like they might make the top 4. They've got time. So I think that's a big factor that's underestimated in the women's space right now is they'd love to be playing more footy. They'd love to have longer seasons, but we just can't get the mix right. You know, we're playing Origin at the start of the year. You would never ask Cameron Munster to play Origin before round 1. So they're almost putting their lives on hold, go in Origin camp, come back out, go back into pre-season. You're trying to start the car twice.
Yeah, is it different in terms of that player-coach relationship as well? Like, can you? Did you feel confident?
Depends who you ask.
Well, I was going to say, would you feel confident, you know, addressing a young female in a certain tone as the same you would a male? Like, I know people would say, "Oh, we want to be treated equally." Well,
yeah.
I think
that was my problem.
There's probably a bit of maybe careful what you wish for, because some of the young lads coming in, they're not treated I don't know, each club does it differently, but it can be a tough learning curve at times.
Yeah, well, every coach has people they can have in the group they can lean on differently and talk to differently. And I think that's a big misconception that coaches do have favourites. But they treat people differently. You know, if we're paying you $1 million.
Yeah.
I need to be able to go to you in times of when we're going shit and go at you harder than what I can go at that person who we're not paying $1 million, right? So, I think my relationship with people depends who you ask. I feel like I had a really good relationship with a lot of girls, and there'd be some out there that say, I was too intense and I was too in your face, and it meant too much to me. But I always saw it as I won't be accused of not caring enough. I can be accused of being a prick, being too intense, yelling at you, screaming, swearing, all that kind of stuff. I won't be accused of he didn't care enough about me. Maybe I cared too much. But the other part is, and I said to you last night, it's not just in the female space, but it's in the male space as well. It's like everyone's mates now, man. Me and you weren't mates when we played. We genuinely hated each other to the point where we would fight, scrap, do whatever we could because we knew what on the other side was glory and we were going to be remembered forever.
Where do you think that's gone? That, I don't know, it seems for me that the players, they do care, but it seems they can turn it off. And
I'm
just
not saying they don't care.
Yeah.
I just meant it's like everyone's friends, which is fine. That's cool. I just didn't grow up in that era.
Yeah.
Like when Jonathan Thurston was coming down to Wollongong, I was all week ready to go. Yeah, and not because I didn't like Jono, because I wanted to win, because I wanted the respect. Whereas, we're all friends on social media. We're all it's changed the way we look at things. I got in trouble one weekend. We lost on the buzzer in Canberra down in 2012, I think it was. I walked off without shaking anyone's hand because I was that filthy that we'd lost again. I'd missed the tackle or the assignment to finish. To me, can't believe we lost again.
Yeah.
I hate losing. I walked off. I was seen as a bad sport. You're like, well, you're allowed to care to the fact where you're allowed to. Fans don't want to see, and fans say it all the time, I don't want to see you used to dapping up if we've just beat you by 50. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, I think
like if England lose the Ashes this year, and you see
Herbie Farnworth and
Latrell Mitchell going, hey, bro, great game. And it's like, you've just lost the Ashes.
Yeah.
When you look at...
there's a time and a place for that, and it's not in the public.
Agree. Totally agree. But the times have changed. And some of the players might go, you're just an old man.
Yeah.
And I get that. But I think that, I've always said, in the women's space, the more hatred rivals you can get, the better the game will be. The better the game will be.
The power of hate is incredible. What else can be done? Because you're talking of the women's game growing. You've got you've come from a very strong understanding of that statement, and probably know better than most around what are some of the things like that are holding it back. Is it investment? Is it research? Is it sports science? Is it youth participation? What is it that can really accelerate the NRLW?
I've been passionate about they need their own CEO. They need
so in terms of their own CEO, like a separate competition, like an independent.
You're still aligned with PVL and Andrew Abdo under the NRL banner, but you've got someone that is solely focused on the NRLW.
I like that idea.
Who says to all the coaches, all the CEOs, we're going to get together and we've got some fresh ideas. And one of those ideas would be we're going to bring the season forward, and we're not going to try and run it in line with the men's. We're just going to bring the season forward. We're going to give you a longer pre-season. Okay, we're going to tip some money in to start to help that. We're going to make it 2 months or 2.5 months, 10 weeks. We're going to bring the season forward, and we're going to play Origin at the back end, and we're going to try and time it with the men's. So you can have that Origin period, because if you have a singular person that's just focused on NRLW, not trying to align that we've got grand final day on grand final day and all that kind of stuff, and maybe you get to there someday, but you could also do Origin on grand final day. Like in the finals, there's less men's games. Why not have Origin at the back end of the year where you can play a semi-final at a core Dogs v Raiders? There's 70,000 there, and you've got the women's playing before that, and you've got 50,000 there or 45,000 there. Like if you want the brand to be great, and it will be great, you need someone's sole focus on what can we do to make that better, not just putting it in along and trying to fit it in with everything else. Yeah,
it always fascinates me. You got, when the NRLW began, you had a blank canvas, and it's funny, you think, let's just replicate what the men do. But like the men's game isn't perfect. And we do a lot of things in the men's game because that's just what we've done for 140 years.
But if you had someone that sole focus was to...
Like even things like ball size, like stick size, field size, it just is because that's what someone in the Australians would say 1908, but it was, I think, since 1895 in England. Like that's just what people did.
And that's probably why the English Super League is struggling with the women's game so much. I mean, Leeds won 110-0 the other day. Do they need to look at something in their own identity where they have a point system that all the English players don't go to St Helens and Wigan and Leeds, and they even it out and they make it a 6-team comp and they only run for 8 weeks? Like something like that, someone that is sole focused and passionate about making the women's game as best as it can be, with no guidelines as to when you have to play. Like 11 o'clock for a women's game does not make sense to me. When you could have 12, 2, 4, 6, and have it before the men's, like all that kind of stuff. You can have 2 games on a Thursday night. You could have, like, there's just so many ideas there, and you want the players to be a part of it. So you want their ideas as well as what they can do to make it better within the confines of what the budget will be. But the best year, I think personally, the best year was the COVID year where we had 2 seasons in one. We had a grand final at Redcliffe, Roosters, Dragons, standalone crowd, no other game. I think they had 10 or 12,000 there.
Yeah.
And it was a daytime grand final. And the season was brought forward because we knew we had another season coming up. So, like, just don't worry about trying to align everything to the men's. Sure, there's going to be certain times where it may cross over, and that's great. But have your own CEO, your own person that's in charge of that direction.
Do you think an idea worth toying with is it could be the potential for football every night of the week, and that could be the advert? So, if you've got the men's on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you play women's Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Why not? It'd be endless.
I know obviously there's some potential logistical juggling that needs to be done there with terms of work schedule and whatnot, but I guess if you look at maybe sponsorship dollar, fan interest, like if you've got football on
more
every night of the week,
and more double headers, more magic rounds. My idea at the first thing was like, why not just, like, you've got 12 teams now, why not just have like 4 magic rounds where they travel and young females up in Townsville get to see 6 games over the weekend, and then the next block they move down to Newcastle and they get to see 6 games, and everyone hosts a round, right?
I think that's a good idea.
Marketing, all that kind of stuff, because young girls want to play. And we spoke about this, like, touch football right now is booming. Everyone wants to play NRLW, and if you want to play NRLW, you got to go out and play touch because of the skill level. They want to see that the slight players can be just as effective as the bigger players, and that they use their skill that they're learning in touch to be able to translate to that. The more exposure you get, like imagine Cronulla, where we live, having 6 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The stadiums, you get a $50 pass and you can come all 3 days, and you get to see the different shapes and everyone's running and different styles that teams play, all that kind of stuff.
You also mentioned about you spoke about the bringing over some of the the female athletes from the UK. It is a bit of a unrealistic pedestal of where the NRLW is at in terms of trying to sign those British-based players.
Yeah, I experienced that trying to sign a couple of the elite girls. The managers get involved, and it's an unrealistic expectation of what you can earn out here. And being at the Dragons, that's a club that doesn't get a lot of third-party stuff involved in terms of getting that extra bang for
like
buck.
securing a job and
And you know that as male, right? So
that happens at a lot of clubs in
like
the Med.
Brisbane,
Yeah.
they have big third parties in the men's, they have big third parties in the women's. Roosters, same. Yeah. So I think again, like and we saw that in Vegas, like it was 90-0. So it's not like it was 26-18 and you thought, okay, well, some of those girls, like you're trying to pitch to those Super League players, and I said the same over there when I was playing in London, like, don't think about the money. Go out and make your living by being so good at your craft that they want you, that you go to them with your hand out. Because if you come with your hand out, we know that you're not as fit as the NRLW. The skill level won't be there because the girls over here pretty much are getting that semi-professional. They've played a lot longer. The competition's better. So when you come out, we're teaching you a new style again. So that's what I would say is to young players that want to test themselves in the NRL and NRLW, like come out with an opportunity at your doorstep versus how much you think you can earn.
Yeah, it's an interesting one that this whole boom of NRLW, I think it's not even scratched the surface yet, and I think it's always in a delicate position because it is still in its infancy. We're going to make sure we get it right. I think what you said there about getting the most striking thing you've said is around the competition having its own CEO, because running the game is a difficult job. Like Andrew Abdo, Peter Volandis, they've got their hands full. Like just running the men's comp, you could argue, and they do have a commission, but where's the level of priority? It's not the first point of thought, but with an individual charged with running the NRLW,
With
all those problems are front of mind.
That's just, if I'm the CEO, that's my focus.
It's your job.
It's my job is to make sure that the product is as best it can be, that we're in cohort with the players about what we can do to make the game better and the brand better. But that's my sole focus. I'm not getting up worried about the men's schedule, what's going on, grand final, where is it? Is it in Sydney this year? Is Origin? Do we take it to New Zealand? All that kind of stuff. Your sole focus is to make the women's game better.
Yeah. Mate, on your career itself, you had a career that most would be incredibly envious of. Where did the drive come from? Like, what was the young Jamie Soward attracted to? Why did he want to make it in the world of professional rugby league?
I just love rugby league since I was 4. I started playing when I was 4.
A lot of people love it though.
Yeah.
And a lot like what set you apart?
No, but I love the game, not the lifestyle.
Yeah.
I never thought about running around making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I wanted to win. I wanted my name on the back of my jersey, and I wanted to win a grand final. And that's what drove me. That's what put me to a thing. And you can look at my skill set. Like, I wasn't Thurston. I wasn't going to take the ball to the line. I wasn't going to make tackles and be a great defender at half. I defended on the wing when we won. So for me, the drive came from wanting to be an ultimate competitor and testing myself to the point where I can look back at my career and say, sure, at the back end I maybe made some decisions that was not right at Penrith and was going through some personal stuff off field that maybe drove that and led me down a path. But all in all, to have a professional career, to win a grand final, to play State of Origin, that drive came from wanting to win, wanting to be a competitor. And you watch guys as you grow up, and I said the point right now is I loved the game. I loved what the game brought. The 94 grand final going, sitting at the SFS and Marty Bella knocks on from the kickoff and, Mal Meninga's last game and watching the Ashes. Like, I loved the game. I never ever loved the lifestyle. I'd prefer what I do now. But I love the game.
Mate, you said there about the back end of your career, like off-field things affecting how you play. Is that something that we don't, or clubs don't address with enough degree of importance as they should? When you think about preparation for a game, it's a lot of physical prep, tactically prepped, but everyone's carrying a bit of weight going into a game. Everyone's carrying something most of the time.
Yeah.
Some more than others. But is that something that's, I don't know, maybe you look back and you would see it is addressed now, but maybe it wasn't back then.
Yeah, I mean, to Ivan and Wall's credit, like, they probably saw it happening. They tried to address it, but you got to want help as well. But at looking back, like, I wish someone would have stopped me from myself. Like, there'd been enough people that would have seen what was going on. I was going through a divorce. I was going through, not really doing the right things to get myself in the right frame of mind to play, but I was still getting to game day and trying to play. So you have your first serious injury, you lose feeling in your leg, you get a back surgery, you get another back surgery a week later. Like, as a kicker, that's my left leg. Like, it was my right leg, I wouldn't have cared, but it was my left leg. And then you repair yourself. Gus has sort of said, we want you to retire, and you work your way back. You get super fit. Hook comes in, and the first thing he says is, I don't want to get rid of you. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I'm a deep thinker as it is. Then you have another back surgery. Like, that all happened to me in the space of a year after we lost to you guys in 14. And I did not deal with that good. I tried to put on a brave face, but I think clubs can only do so much. The player has to want to help themselves in a sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I always find that element of athletic endeavour really interesting. Like, you need a lot of things going your way. Like,
well, we were brought up. I don't know if you would be the same. Like, winning solves everything.
Yeah, or at least masks, paves over the cracks.
Yeah. So when we were winning, like 14, I was probably starting to develop some of those things, but we were winning. So I was like, bang, then 15, the cracks can't mask over when you're losing. They just become bigger.
But you could argue sometimes winning makes it worse.
Yeah. Well, a team that's going well, that's not really going well, and they're winning, and you're like, yeah, but they're conceding 24 points and their completion rate's down, but they won 25-24, and you're like, we've got that sort of angst about whether that next performance is going to be as good, and then it's the same as a player. Like, and the other thing is, like, a lot of people don't care what you do during the week.
Yeah,
they just want you to perform on Sunday.
That results-based industry. Before we get into 2010, I want to ask you about a real feature of your game, which was your kicking game. It was interesting sitting with you last night, and I think it was Cam Munster put a kick in, and you said some things, and it was like you were almost speaking a foreign language to me. I knew what you were saying, but I couldn't understand the words, and it was around how, Munster's body shape, the shoulder position, not running on a particular angle, how he kicks the ball. Like, for a lot of people, kicking is just something you need to do on last tackle. Talk to us about just that level of importance you put on that aspect of the game, because it was a real feature for you.
Yeah, well, Wayne Bennett, when he came to the club, asked me what I was good at. He said, what are the 5 things you're good at? And I said, I don't know, because I didn't want to act like I was arrogant. And he said, well, if you don't know what you're good at, how am I going to help you? So I went away and thought about it, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm really fast. I can pass. I feel like I'm an elite passer. And I can kick the ball really, really well. Yeah. I feel like I compete, and I feel like I can get myself into a game pretty comfortably through doing those things. And he said, well, just be great at that. And you look at my 9 and 10 season, like I didn't have to take the ball to the line. I just worked on that. So part of my kicking stuff was early on, my dad used to tease me, but I'd walk around bouncing a ball like AFL because I wanted to feel the ball, grip the ball like that. Developed a kicking style that I was comfortable with, kicking the ball out of hand. And then in 2004, Jersey Flegg were having a good season, and Gus came to me with 6 VHSs of Darren Lockyer in preparation for an Origin scrimmage against the Blues. So I went away and watched that, and I watched how Lockyer kicked the ball, and he was the first one that started doing the drop punt sort of into a corner. So I was like, okay, I can do that. Like that's comfortable to me. So I started working on that. And then you watch Joey, Thurston, like the short kicking game. Brett Kamali, I think, is underrated. Early doors, Brent Sherwin, going to the line, Jason Taylor to a certain extent, in a lot of old videos. But the way that they would sum up the situation by getting into the right lane, and by lane, you sort of, if they're defenders, like that's your kicking lane there, right? So what I was talking about with Munster was he goes to the left-hand side. Now, if I get the ball from here and I want to kick through there, I'll need to be able to have an option to run the ball. So my chest has still got to stay square, my hips, I've got to be able to play at the back, I've got to be able to play short, and I've got to be able to kick, right? So I've got all those options. You still with me?
I'm following.
As Munster goes this way, he takes away the ability to run, he takes away the ability to pass the ball out the back, and he kicks it off the inside of his foot. So he's actually got to kick it harder because he hasn't got the feel of just dropping it out in front. He's got to put it down to the foot, bring his foot through, and essentially get it through a lane that's tighter now because he's facing this way and the ball goes dead. So, when I'm working with a lot of kids, adults to a certain extent, I'm big on trusting your first instinct was a thing Wayne taught me, is don't change your kick, and understanding that wherever your chest is, the ball will go for long kicks. But in terms of finesse and short kicks, it's about understanding what kind of kick, who, what, when, why, how. Like, who am I kicking to? Why am I doing this kick? When is it in the game? What kind of kick is it going to be? And how am I going to execute this every single time? And that's been taken away because of the 7-tackle set, which I was a part of. I hate it. It's taken away. Like, that's why when Sam Walker plays, everyone goes, oh, my God, like, what a... And you go, he's just playing to his skill set. Elite short kicking game, sees what he sees, backs his skill and executes. Like, it's amazing to watch him play. I love watching him play. But we would see more of it if there wasn't a 7-tackle threat, because in the back of your head, the coaches are going, don't you kick it dead?
Yeah.
And you're like...
The consequences now of messing up a short kick are obviously far more consequential.
But even a short dropout, like, it's not even guaranteed that you get the ball back. So why?
You
saw
so
Queensland last night.
Your consequence is greater and your reward is short.
Yeah, and you saw Queensland last night with the game 4 minutes to go. I think Munster kicked 2 dead last night. He got a bad pass and then tried to roll it into the in goal and kicked it dead. And they had a forward pass because they run it. So that, for me, it promotes boring football. Like, gone are the days where you see, like, Daniel Tupou is one of the best leapers we've ever seen. Can't kick to him on a wing anymore because escorts, 7 tackles. Like, there's so many things that are negating that short kicking game.
Obviously, you've got an amazing depth of tools, knowing how to do it. You described it in a way that is excellent. But what about repetition? How much time goes into perfecting those skills?
Yeah, one thing I learned early on with goal kicking was you never have a wasted rep, right? So a lot of kids go out and...
I like that phrase.
They kick, you see teams run out into the field and they'll try and kick from 40, and it's like, great, you can hit the post from 40. That's never going to happen in a game. Or you see hookers that don't kick and they practice their kicking after game, right corner, and you're like, get into a game, they want to do a grubber from 5 out, going backwards. It's like, you just stick to your wheelhouse. So never waste a rep to me was, and I think more now that, I have been a coach, is understanding that, not not going for the big play, not going for, if you're a goal kicker, like, why do you practice from the sideline? The chances of you making that first kick when you're cold, when you haven't warmed up, when you haven't seen one go through the post, are not as good as if you've kicked 5, 6, 7, 8 from in close, you've got your rhythm, you're following through the ball, all that kind of stuff. Same with kids that go out and kick 40-20s. Like, there's like 20, 40-20s kicked by the elite guys, the best in the world, every year. So the best guys in the world are doing it. And then you come to a kid and you go, what do you want to work on? He goes, 40-20s. I said, mate, you could have just done that at park. I can't. That.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but you're correct.
It's like basketballs. Like, everyone wants to be Steph Curry and shoot threes, but they can't shoot a 5-foot like little layup. They can't do that repetition in close, and then they go out wide and they throw it, and it's like it goes in. They go, oh great. It's like you learn doing that to be able to go back and do it in the moments. You know, your craft, your passing. Like, when you go into the line and passing, you're not passing without any pressure. You want to feel that pressure, so you know what it's like. If you do get rushed, can you hold on to it? Can you make a decision? All that kind of stuff. If you're just going out there throwing cutout passes to the wing, be like, James, what are you doing?
You mentioned that word pressure with goal kicking. Is that something you feel? Like, I know you had a routine. Is that a way to calm that pressure down? Is that what that's for?
Yeah, so in my biggest kicks, I had the yips when I first came to Sydney, like a proper, wasn't a great goal kicker at all. And my stepdad, Huey, said to me, he's like, boy, if you go to Sydney, you better learn how to goal kick because they're going to pick you over another halfback that can't. So I worked hard at it. Came to Sydney under Flano and I had the yips bad, and we were beating everyone by like a fair bit. And
is that in the
Jersey flag?
Jersey at the Roosters,
Yep. So we were scoring like 40 points a week. Like, it was, And I think I missed a kick, like a pretty easy one, and I started getting in my head, and it was the first time I'd started thinking about goal kicking. And Huey took me over the back fence at Sylvania there, and I lined one up from just near the post where I'd missed the other day. And as I went to like run in, he blew this whistle, and I almost like fell over and kicked it. And I turned around and I said, "How you fucking doing? Like, you know, I'm here to try and practice." He goes, "So when someone whistles, you're going to stop and ask them to stop?" He's like, "What, you can't kick in front of 20, 30 people? What about 30,000, 40,000?
Yeah.
So in my biggest kicks, I would often think about that whistle and focus on that whistle. And I always looked at left post, left screw, because I'm left-footed, so I wanted to get up at the left post, but always tried to focus on the screw that put the crossbar to the post. And that was my sense of focus for that point. And I missed some, but I feel like I kicked some big ones as well. But yeah, it's the goal kicking's got to be fun. It's such a shit job. Like,
you make it fun. How do you make it fun?
Well, you've got to have days where you kick well, but it doesn't go through the post, and you know that you've hit the ball well, and you've followed through, and everything's well, but it's just not a great day. You've got to have days where you only practice in tight. You've got to have days where you do scenarios. You've got to have days where you understand that it's super windy. So versus going out wide and trying to bend it in like a Sarko, that you work in tight and you get those kicks that you're supposed to get. And then you might have one or two out wide that you sort of muck around with. But goal kicking's got to be fun, because I texted Zach last night. I just said, you're a hell of a kicker. One of the best ball strikers I've ever seen, maybe the best that I've worked with. Hell of a player. Like, so many things you do well for that team. He just keep kicking. Because if he has those kicks again today, like, he hit the post 3 times.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, oh, he missed 1 for 5. You're like, no, he hit the post 3 times. He never missed left. He missed right, which is his channel to get up at. The only other thing, maybe Latrell could have taken 1 after you missed 2 or 3, but in a moment like that, you've got to stick with the guy that's done the reps. Like, it's not like Zach's just like, I'll have a crack, like front rower at the end of training. It's just like, I'll have a crack. Oh, it's that easy. Great, you've kicked it in front of no one. You've got no fatigue. Yeah, so, yeah, I just think repetition and loving, you got to make it fun.
Talking about that amazing career that you had, it's epitomised by that Premiership win at the Dragons. Who was it that brought you over?
Depends who you ask, really. Like Sammy Ayub
Well,
was
I'm
my
asking you.
manager. I think Nathan Brown, they'd had a few injuries. I think Richie Williams was there, Brett Furman. They'd had a few injuries, and I had been put on the back burner by Chris Anderson at the Roosters. I've been pushed back to part-time, so I was on, pretty good wage for part-time.
Did you play any first grade there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I debuted in 05.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you played first grade and then were massively on the outer.
Well, I mean, they made 3 grand finals in a row. We'd had this juniors side that had won every game in Jersey Flegg, a grand final in 05 reserve grade. They'd made the juniors were strong. I wasn't Brad Fittler though.
Yeah.
There was no replacing him.
No.
So I came in and I made my debut. Dad passed away the next day. That probably rattled me a little bit in terms of consistency in what I was doing, because I moved up in 04. And
how are you supposed to cope with that?
yeah, well, in 04 I won every week for 30 weeks. Didn't lose. So I was like, training, great. Can't wait to get there. Part-time, it's cold, who cares? Like, let's get into it. 05, we're playing reserve grade. I get called up. I go to North Queensland as 18th man, come back, play reserve grade, play on a Sunday afternoon. Sticky was in Origin camp. Gus coaches me that week, and we win, boring game, 34-2 or something like that against the Knights. And then Dad had a heart attack, passed away. So that sort of, looking back, that probably affected me more than I'd like to think I let it. So my career at the Roosters is like, I was very grateful that they picked me up and made my debut there. And then I sort of stumbled around in reserve grade. We made another grand final in 06, played a couple of games. And then 07, Sticky got the sack. Chris Anderson came in, and I just wasn't his style, which happens.
Yeah.
Yep. Moved back to part-time, played one game. Brownie sort of wanted to get me across. He said, would you come across? I shook his hand and said, yep, no worries. Played first grade the week later against the Sharks. We beat the Sharks. Minnie kicked the field goal in Golden Point, I think it was. And then I said to Chris Anderson, I'm gone. He started blowing up. But Brownie got me across, and I played the week later against the Broncos.
What year was this again?
07.
07. So you're establishing yourself as very much first choice 5'8" there.
Halfback.
Halfback.
I was trying to establish myself as a first grader. Like I'd played 24 games, some off the bench, some at hooker, some at half. Yeah, coming up with guys that are like Adrian Morley and Jason Kalis and like all these guys, Ryan Cross, Minicello, Craig Wing, like Luke Ricketson, some of the greats of the game. And the next wave coming through, we were like younger guys where they wanted to win. They'd been in 3 grand finals. They wanted to win straight away. We probably didn't know how to do that.
Speaking of winners, Wayne Bennett comes to the club. It's a funny club, the Dragons, obviously. The merger, the history in particular of one side and never before, never again. But Wayne comes in. What can you talk to us about some of the instant impact that a man like he can make to a football club?
Well, he rang me in 08 and just said, you're going to be my 5'8" for 2 years. We're going to give you a 2-year deal. There's some incentives in there if you play.
Were you off contract then as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. In 08, I was finishing up. He said, we're going to give you a 2-year deal. You're going to play 5'8". Good luck for the rest of the year. Keep your head up. Keep doing what you do. That was it. The first convo I had with him. I was like, holy shit, Wayne Bennett. Because he was going to come to the Roosters in 06. Yeah. And I was like, man, Huey, my stepdad, he's like, man, you're going to get coached by Wayne Bennett. How cool is that? Then it fell over, and then it was like, oh, shit, yeah. And then he came in 09, and it was just the hardest preseason I'd ever done. Like, you've had him for England. Like, he's the way that he understands how people tick and how to cuddle them, kick them in the ass, fire them up, explain stuff to them, life lessons, all that kind of stuff is why he's such a great coach. So when he gave me that confidence in 08 that I was going to play 5'8" for the next 2 years, that was it. I didn't have to think about anything else. I just had to think about getting fit and listening to what he said.
Yeah, he has an incredible way of instilling confidence in people. So knowing you've, I think by hearing that, he's trusting you, and now you trust him.
Yeah, well,
and you don't want to let him down. If he's putting it on the line, you don't want him to ever have to go back on that word.
No, and the first time I knew that he trusted me was round 109. I got fended off in the first 5 minutes by GI, which is across Olympic Park. Like, first 5 minutes to start the season opener. Couldn't be any worse. I still to this day think that my inside centre could have helped me a little bit.
Which was?
Chase Stanley. But we end up scrapping back to get to a golden point. I think it was 16-14. I kick a goal with not long left after Dell scores. And we go to golden point. GI kicks a field goal and we lose 17-16. And Wayne came in and we were all like devastated. And he came over to me, he said, that was a hell of a goal kick to send it to golden point. And I was like, we lost, but he goes, mate, the pressure was on. Like, we don't even get to golden point without that. I was like, shit, okay. Maybe it's not so bad. And then he just addressed the group and said, I feel really sorry for you. Obviously, we don't like to lose, but I feel really bad for you guys. And we're like, what do you mean? He goes, well, that's the standard you guys have to play with now. You've come down to Melbourne, who have been in grand finals and all this kind of stuff. That's the standard. He goes, I knew we were going to get there. I just didn't think we'd get there round one. He said, I thought it'd take a couple of months. So then the next week, boring game, 10-6 v Cronulla at Cogra, we beat them. And then it was a juggernaut. We just were like this defensive, scrambling, just built that confidence. But I just remember that distinctly.
Do you look back at 09 and think that's the one that got away?
11's the one that got away, I think, more. And it's no disrespect to any of the teams, but 11 we were 10-1, I think, going into the Origin sort of thing. I'd played Origin. We had 8 Origin guys throughout that period. I'd come out of Origin. I'd lost 5. We lost 5 in a row, I think. I'd lost confidence. I was going to get dropped. Like that period of having that many guys out.
Yeah.
Coming back into routine, it's like in rep camps. It's like you train for an hour and a half, you do some video, and you hang out all day with your mates. Like, it's great. You sleep well, all that kind of stuff. You're coming back into that routine of grind, and everyone knows that you're a rep player now, so the expectation goes up. But Wayne will tell you that the 11 was the one that we thought we could have gone back to back. 9, maybe we weren't ready. Yeah, maybe some of us younger guys weren't as ready as what we thought we were, but I think 11 more than...
Just on 10, and I know you would have spoken about this in great detail in the past. You look at things throughout that year, Gasnier coming back, obviously the coach, the connection that the group had. What is it for you when you look back that sticks out, that has your name in history for the Dragons in 2010?
We had a super tight group.
Is that what it comes down to? Connection?
Yeah, connection. Yeah, phones weren't really a thing then. Like, social media really wasn't a thing then. So you'd get on the bus and you'd hang shit on each other, and Wayne had organised a signing day where you got the bye that week, so you go and get on the piss together, and you'd end up wrestling each other, and you maybe tell a few home truths to someone that may have done something, and then you wrestle each other, and the next day you turn up and hug it out. Like, it was a different kind of group, and there was a lot of older guys there. Like, I thought Ben Hornby, Dean Young, like, their leadership throughout those years, like, these are guys that had done it all, played in big games, had come, we finished first, feel like we're going to the Holy Grail, and we get bounced in straight sets. Like, to have that focus and that drive, and then pass it on to our younger guys. I just remember the tightness of the group. Like, we had really had good days. Like, if we knew we had a signing day and we're going to get on the piss, like, we trained so hard that day, and then we just go and tear in, and that camaraderie showed how tight we were. Even like the week of the grand final, we couldn't wait to get on the bus with each other. We couldn't wait to hang shit on each other, and Wayne would sit at the back and laugh, and Like they were the better times, and obviously you like winning, but they're the times that were really cool.
How was Wayne in games like Anzac Day?
Yeah, he just knew how to rise to the moment. He knew how to stay cool. Like last week, I heard that he didn't go down to the sheds at halftime or when the lightning break was on. I was like, that's so cool.
He didn't.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's like the
Like,
players,
leave it up.
yeah.
You guys got yourself into this. Get out of it. Like me as a young coach, I'd be down there probably screaming my head off. But he's just got that calmness about him. Anzac Day.
We were actually, we were commentating that game for Triple M, and we thought there was maybe rules that the head coaches couldn't go down.
Oh, really?
And then we saw it cut to the Bulldogs, and Cam Serraldo was there, and we kind of just couldn't really figure it out. And we were like, oh God, no, he's just
The first Anzac Day Wayne had, he didn't know how busy Anzac Parade was going to the game. So we got there. He'll say he did it on purpose, but there was a fair bit of puckering going on the bus because
we left
it too late. Because when you go Anzac Day, you get picked up in Cogra and you get to the round weekend, it's just a shit fight. Everyone's trying to get in. The bus is trying to squeeze in places. So we get there and usually he's there about an hour and a half before, maybe even a little bit longer on big days. Mate, we're like 20 minutes, half an hour before warm-up. We're just walking in. Quick, boys, jump on the thing. And this was his first Anzac Day. And we run down. I just remember quickly getting strapped, run down. Didn't think about the game at all like that. First kick, Marco immediately charges me down. I go back, get it, run, hit BMOS, we score. And it was probably my best game that I'd ever played. I didn't think about Anzac Day at all.
I wonder if it was by design or not. I'd love to know.
I would love to know.
Like an honest.
I was literally on the bus because I've got a routine, and I was well into my routine by then. I was on the bus I remember Ben Cray was doing leg swings. I was doing stretches I have to start my routine.
The countdown has
The countdown's on.
Yeah.
It's on. Once my timer starts, I like to get dressed first. I don't like the warm-up jersey or the shirt. I just want to get dressed. I want to feel my boots. I want to feel all that.
It's funny that, isn't it? But I can imagine Wayne just really leaning on that spirit of the Anzac and everything that the ex-servicemen and women.
Well, he instilled what a privilege it was to play on those days. And the NRL do it better than in our sport in celebrating Anzac. And on that day, he wanted to make you realise how lucky you are that you play sport on that day.
Yeah. No, it's... But it's... Yeah, a story for another time, but it is incredible that...
When you hear that last post, it's like... For that 1 second, you can't even imagine what those men and women have done.
No, I've been through and what they witnessed. It's horrendous. You have that huge celebration, win the Premiership in 2010. You're saying you should have went close in 11. Then Wayne moves on. The ghost of Wayne Bennett is lingered for many a football club. And one of those victims was the Dragons. What was it like when he left?
I was really...
And sorry, and is it a thing?
Yeah, well, it's a thing because you get accustomed to someone that you trust, that you play your best footy under, and then someone, like for me personally, and me and Pricey have mended our bridges. We've talked. I've coached his daughter a touch. Like we're completely fine. And it's one thing I've learnt a lot is about ego and how it gets in the way of relationships at certain times, and you wish you could take some stuff back. But yeah, for me, I'd won a comp in 10. We'd had 2 straight minor premierships, a semi-final series in 11, played Origin. Wayne leaves. I didn't want to change anything, but they probably had to change a few things to get better. But in my head, I'm like, well, I'm playing the best footy I've played. Why am I changing things? Why am I going to the left-hand side when I'm on the right?
So you wanted to swap the sides that you both attack and defended on?
Yeah. So I'd gone from defending at 2 in on the right to sometimes 3 in, but 2 in on the left, which for me was completely, like, people say you should be able to play both sides. Well, when you've won one way, it's not like defending the middle where you're shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
You got decisions, you got combinations, all that kind of stuff. In 12, I think we finished 9th. And then in 13, I was out of there. Like, it was to the point where me and Pricey, you know, I think I'd gotten injured. He'd asked me to come back and play hooker, and I said no. I said I'd rather play reserve grade in my position, and was sort of looked at a funny way. And I just said, like, and that's the ego part, you know, should be team first.
Do you regret any of that?
Yeah, I look back now and I think if someone had said that, like, same at Penrith with Ivan, like, I wish I knew what I knew now and was the person I am now and settled and, you know, kids change you, you know. Being with someone that loves you unconditionally like my wife and supports you, like that makes you feel the person that you are. So I'm back to the person I was before I played footy, which is why I'm so content not chasing a coaching dream at the moment and, you know, helping people in government and all that kind of stuff. Like, of course you'd love that, but in the moment your ego gets in the way. You think about what you've done, and that probably cruelled me a little bit at Penrith with Hook as well. I was sort of like, why isn't he leaning on me? You know, I've won a premiership. You know, why is he sort of trying to change me? And then when you sit down with Hook and you realise about ego and what he's trying to teach you, you're like, I was a bit of a punk to those guys. But in that moment with Pricey, I couldn't. I didn't want to see what he was trying to make me better. I wanted to stay with things that are the same.
It obviously ended in a breakup between yourself and the Dragons, but they weren't so keen on allowing you to go to Penrith with immediate effect.
Well, that was people say, why'd you leave the Dragons? The Dragons got rid of me. They wanted 1 year. I wanted... Gareth Widdop was coming.
Sorry, they wanted one...
They offered me 1 year.
Yeah, for 2014?
Yeah. And I thought that was...
And how old were you at this stage? Like?
Well, I was 23, I think.
So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, so I was about to hit my prime, probably.
And
I thought,
more than that,
well, they wanted Gareth Widdop. And I just thought, me and Gareth together, I thought could be pretty good. Yeah. They offered me 1 year. Gus offered me 4. Things started to go south pretty quickly. Penrith were going good that year in 2013, and I wanted to go across. They wanted Luke Walsh to come across, and then Gus said, mate, if you come across now and it doesn't work out, it's a long time to, like, if you don't perform, why don't you just go to England for a bit? So I just took off to England. But the thing about the Dragons is, and I feel like they did that to me as a coach, is like, yeah, they didn't want me there in 13, which is fine. That's fine. People move on, all that kind of stuff. But when one club who is offering you 4 years and a club you've won a premiership with offers you 1 year, like, without any sort of resolution to sit down and say, like, you know, where do you want to get to? Like, you talk about working through with that, and then you fast forward that to as a coaching career, like, you got people there that weren't there late at night doing all this stuff. Like, coaches take on huge responsibilities for players and organisations, and people make decisions on that aren't there. That's what I'm filthy about.
How is your relationship with the Dragons now?
Former players are fine,
but you still have, I guess, reservations about...
There's people there that knew me before I came back into coaching that I would talk to, that see around the traps, that when I got let go, didn't check in on me, didn't see anything at all. And rugby league's a really small world. Depends, if you really, really hate someone, that's hard to come back from. But there's guys there that I expected to reach out. I had guys from other clubs, former players, Ben Hornby, Brett Morris, Dean Young rang me personally. Flano rang me, but there's other guys, there's other people in that organisation that looked at me and just treated me like I was when I was 13.
Do you feel welcome there? Like, would you feel comfortable going to, like, the former Players' Day or 2010 reunion?
There's one coming up next month, which this sums up for me. Like they had to ring someone, a mutual person that works at the club, to get my details, to invite me to it.
Really?
I worked there last year.
Yeah, wow.
And the person...
I'm on that email list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
So I had a person ring me and say, hey, can we get your details for an old boys invite? And I went, surely you've got my email and phone number. And they said, oh, no. So I had to reach that, which is, to me, is arrogance from them.
Will you attend?
I don't know. I want to see my old mates. I want to see my old teammates that I won with.
I reckon, look, everything like that happens and in life, I think it would be...
I'll go.
You should go to celebrate like remember the positive sides, and that those individuals. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm a Scorpio, mate. I'm pretty bitter about things, but I'll end up going. My wife's talked me into it.
What? Star sign.
Scorpio, mate.
Are you into star signs?
Oh,
That's a big...
You know what I can't...
That is a big...
I just can't cop...
X for me.
Yeah, I just can't cop, like... I've seen people at other clubs be welcomed back. I've watched people walk into clubs and be welcomed back. I've never felt welcomed back after I left. Even when I was coaching, I felt like...
Really?
I've never felt welcomed back. And they can say what they want to say. That's how I feel. Yeah, when you walk into that museum, you've been in that museum. Like, I've got some pretty good memories in that museum. And to not have me on an emailing list seems petty, but seems like we don't care if you come or not, is how I see it. Now I'll go, but there'll be people there that want to say hello to me that are in charge of that stuff. So you should always feel welcome. Like, I could talk to Nick Politis tomorrow and he'd go, mate, the Roosters, Penrith, like those guys out there. Yeah, you weren't your best version of yourself at times, but I didn't just like play 2 games and go off into the wilderness and like come back and act like I won something.
Do you think that's the problem with the club at the moment? Is some of the people in those positions?
Oh, I think that you've got to evolve, mate. Like if you're asking me to evolve as a coach and try new things and evolve as a player, back when Pricey was trying to get me to evolve and be better, then you've got to strive for greatness and want to evolve to be better. And that's part of that.
Because they've never really been able to, like, I was there in 2018, probably the closest they've been in a long time. But yeah, it is a strange. It's just, all football clubs are strange, but that one in particular with the history and the merger. But then if you don't have the right people,
yeah. But the other part, Jimmy, is like it's still St George and Illawarra. They still, like, the juniors are still St George and Illawarra, separate.
Yeah, but if you don't have the right people at the top, or the right people in the organisation,
you can have it if it's at the top, but then you go down to the next level and it's like that. Like, they should be catching from both areas and just being St George, Illawarra all the way up, male, female. Unify it. If you're going to be unified at the top, you've got to be unified all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, make it a hard place to come because you've got such a big catchment area. Be St George, Illawarra, Jersey Flegg, St George, Illawarra, Lisa Fiola, St George, Illawarra, Tasha Gale. Like, why stuck that way? That's stuck to what you were before the merger. You unify it, have new ideas, have a strong catchment from both ends and be one club. If you're one club at the top, you've got to be one club all the way down.
I think you could be onto something there. Let's go to Penrith. You get there 2014. Obviously Gus, as he's been at the football club for a couple of years, laying the foundations that obviously we see the fruits of today. Did you get a sense that is where the club was going?
Yeah, I've always had well, I think I've always had a great relationship with Gus to the point where he's one of the three smartest footy brains ever. With Wayne, and I've worked with both of them. So he'd sold the vision about the academy or the centre of excellence coming through, and the junior talent or the wealth of talent coming through, and they'd missed out on Thurston, they'd missed out on Carney, and he was upfront about that. Whether I was going to pair with one of them or whether I was another option didn't really bother me. But in 14, I did Kokoda track with Ivan. I'd come back from England like I was pretty much overweight the whole pre-season.
Sorry, you did the Kokoda?
Yeah, I did Kokoda Trail with Tim Grant, Justin Pascoe and Ivan Cleary, and some Panthers on the Prow, which was a great initiative.
So is that in the off-season?
Yeah, I came back from England, no training, and jumped on a plane to PNG and did Kokoda track and 120 Ks and a lot of talking to Ivan and Justin and Tim about the joint, and then rolled into pre-season, and we had a great season. We had a lot of, talk about the tightness of the 2010 group. Like, we had a really good group of guys that enjoyed each other's company, enjoyed being challenging for positions, but also, surprising teams. And I think halfway through we were coming first. So we had a great year, and it was capped off with a loss to you guys in 14. But I felt like we didn't let anything faze us. Like, Ivan was, I tapped into his brain a little bit, and I wish, I'd love to sit down with him now and just get some explanation about stuff that he sees now that he was probably trying to explain, or stuff that he's learned along the way, because I felt like he was trying to tap into that stuff, but I was probably still a little bit like, oh, I've done this stuff. You know what I mean? So, but it was a great group, and it was probably one of the best years I enjoyed as a person.
That 14 year, I know you've been dying to address it. The game we played you, and that moment where I'm clapping in your face, I was very fired up. I'll give it you from my explanation. So one of my pet hates in a game of rugby league is when someone is in the tackle, drops the ball, and then the opposition go, "Oh, great shot." And one of our players dropped the ball coming out of trouble, and you've just gone, "Yes, great shot," clapping, and I'm like, "Mate, it's not a great shot. It's just a loose carry. Like, what? Why are you why are you applauding that?" I was so pissed off, and then you guys, and you were like in our faces. I was like, "Fuck, this little fuck!" Like this, right? And then you guys, I don't know if it was you that made the mistake, but then I've just gone back and just back at you.
It was.
Yeah. But again, it's not the only moment that I think back and go, what a idiot. That game that you said you went to the week before against Manly was another one.
Is that when you pushed Hocker or Grub?
It was me and Mitch Brown that on my own team that I was ready to rip his head off.
See, I
have explained to Brownie that he still did the wrong thing. We actually reenacted it, and if you actually look where I am, we're cruising in that game. I'm actually over trying to push him into the field. Like, I'm like that because I'm panicking. I'm thinking it's Mitch Brownie. He could do anything. So what am I even doing there? I shouldn't be there. I am. Mitch Brown, I know he's an avid viewer and listener of the show. He knows he was in the wrong that day. I overreacted.
I don't see anything wrong with it. That you wanted to win.
It's just. I don't know. There's a way.
If you had gone on 2 weeks later to win the grand final, no one ever talks about that.
Maybe you're right. But yes. So back to the Penrith game. What were you thinking?
We'd beat the Roosters week 1, and I think no one really expected that.
Because you were fourth and they were first.
Yeah. We knocked them off 19-18. Crazy circumstances. Like, we probably felt like we've got a little bit of momentum.
And that flipped the draw.
So Souths had to play Roosters.
Yes.
And we got you guys.
And we beat Melbourne, and then beat Manly.
Yeah, so it was all flipped.
It was all
like it was crazy.
It was a flip for a flip for a flip. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So,
Yeah, so
Moyes had such a good year in 14.
So one was Roosters. I think
South were 2.
Or South third. I think South, maybe, or Manly and South are in the middle. Anyway, we digress. But yeah, the draw had been flipped. You guys had beat the Roosters.
I think did you finish 6th or 7th?
We were 7th.
Yeah, you beat Melbourne.
Were Melbourne away.
Yeah. And
round 1, and then beat Manly. So that means they lost to Souths. Yeah.
So they must have finished 3rd, Manly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it was 4 beat 1 and 3
2 beat 3, and that switched. Anyway, someone will dissect it in the comments. Yeah, no, we looking back, like I remember going to the game thinking, shit, like it was different to the Tigers Dragons because there was such a build up for the older guys and what to expect, and we'd gone into camp for it, whereas Penrith we didn't. We just stayed as per and rock up to the hotel, and we watched Swans get flogged by 100 by Hawthorn, I think it was. So then we walked over, and I just remember going to the game thinking, okay, yeah, well, it's time to be real now. Like people say we fluked week 1. Well, we've got to show them that we didn't. And looking back, like it probably wasn't my best game. I remember, I think Josh Jackson got me on a play looking out the back on the left edge, and they got me with a short ball. I think Grubb scored maybe, or Josh Jackson scored, and he was in my face, and I was like, okay, that was a bad read. And we got to 12-6 at halftime, and then it was 18-6, and then we scored late with like 7 to go. It was 18-12. Dallin scored off a bomb, and I thought, okay, looking back, I probably didn't appreciate the enormity of the situation. Like I'd been there, done it a different way with the Dragons, whereas we probably need... I wouldn't say I wasn't relied on in the Dragons. I would say that I was probably expected to do more for the Panthers in that game for 14, and I probably didn't come up with, looking back, the game that I probably was expected to come up with for that game. And then I watched a week later, and Souths were Souths, but I don't know, like our style was completely different to what you guys was. Like you guys were going to try and bash them and go toe to toe with them because you had the pack, whereas we probably didn't have that. Clyde, we had a lot of young guys. So it was definitely an opportunity missed to make grand final, but I felt like the better team won that day. Like we just didn't play the style that we played against the Roosters a couple of weeks before.
So I know you said you mentioned that you could see signs things were going in the right direction. Penrith, you have any idea they were going to win 4 in a row? Only less than within that decade.
Oh well, so
like you think about that. You sat in that dressing room and ANZ as it was at the time. You lose a semi, and at no point would you think this, but it is.
Well, we
crazy.
Thought we'd run it back in 15.
Yeah,
like we had the same squad. Wall was coming back. We had guys coming back from injury. Like Will Smith played 5'8", so we felt like we could get guys coming back. We'll go to 14. Like we felt like we could run it back, and we won. I think we beat Bulldogs, maybe week 1 out at Penrith
in 15.
In 15, or maybe week 2.
No, and that was maybe in 16, 15 or 16.
No, 15, and then that was when I started getting pain down my leg, and I think in that off season of 14, we had like 17 guys get surgery, and that we worked hard coming back, and then it sort of just started to snowball from there. But in 16, you speak about like Nathan. I played one game with Nathan, and we were going down to Melbourne. And
in 2016,
and he'd come in and trained, and like Gus just looked at me and he said, "Oh mate, this." Yeah, he said. I think he said something like, "Oh, I scored a try at training." He said, "You don't score tries anymore. You just kick the ball, like not a shot, but like a little shot." He said that the other kid does all that stuff now. I was like, okay. Nelson trampled me a couple of times, dislocated both fingers. Went to my wife afterwards and just said, "That's done. My career's over." And she's like, no, supportive wife, like, it'll be okay. You're like, no, it's done. Realised it was done, and then watched them in 2016. I think they got to a big game in a semi, but that was when they were the comeback kids. They were letting teams get out, and they were just raking them back. And then 17, I think they had a good season, but the professionalism, like I'd had a little bit to do with Jerome, Dylan Edwards, like you saw those guys playing, and it was just their professionalism and their want. Like it was, no one ever saw 4 in a row. But did I see Premiership? Sure, yeah. Like it was, they were one of the first clubs to get this facility to train and excellence and fields and all that kind of stuff. And then I knew what a great coach Ivan was, and to come back and have a couple of years away and then evolve.
Were you surprised to see him go?
Yeah, we were surprised. Yeah, we were surprised because it sort of just was like, what? We've made a prelim. We've had one bad year where we were cruelled by injuries, hasn't gone our way, and then that's it. And then he'd gone away and then come back because I really liked Ivan as a coach. Like I said, I see him now and I kind of get embarrassed a little bit of like, I was sorry I was such a jerk to you during those periods. But to do 4 in a row, but not only that, for like 5 grand finals, like how does he keep selling the story of climbing the mountain? How does he make adjustments on the run? Like this year could be his best coaching year ever if he's able to get them into the 8. And people go, well, they didn't win it. You go, yeah, but 5 grand finals? Like, look what's happening.
I think you'd be foolish to write them off this year.
I agree. I think they've got a couple of big games in the next month that are going to determine that, which might be taken out of their hands, especially if they pick up an injury through Origin or they can't back up. But, yeah, if he gets them into the 8, it could be his best coaching performance ever.
I think you could be onto something there. I'm going to ask you the 4 questions that we do for each and every guest. It's funny, though, like you're speaking about Ivan, I wonder where the rugby league world would be if he had stayed. Like
at the West Tigers?
No,
at Penrith.
At Penrith, like would the dynasty be even greater, or would it not exist, or would it be the same? I don't know. I guess we will never know. The dream spine, so 1679.
Yeah,
you can put yourself in if you want as well.
Definitely not. I think I would have Danny Badiris and Andrew Johns, Wally Lewis at 6. Darren Lockyer at 1.
Nice. I'm pretty sure that would have been done before, but that is an excellent dream spine. Thank you. If football didn't exist, what do you think you would have done?
I wanted to be a chef for a little bit, but that didn't work out.
Chef?
Yeah, I like cooking food and stuff like that.
What's your speciality?
I like no fuss. Like if there was a cookbook that came out of just no fuss meals for footballers, where it's like 5 ingredients, I can do that. But I like the fact, I'm not an exotic food person, but simple food, comfort food, stuff like that. I'd actually do a kids cookbook because I reckon me and you have been through those mac and cheese and nuggets and stuff.
Chef or a cook? What's the difference? Don't know.
Don't know.
No.
But a chef.
I reckon a chef, you've got to be pretty full on. You've got to be into the mixer. You've got to be in. You've got to know what you're doing.
Yeah,
you've got to be fancy. I reckon a cook, you can probably get away with that.
I don't
whole
know what
back
I'd
approach.
be doing. I haven't. Yeah, I'm lucky right now that my boss looks after me in the government in water because I don't know what else I would be doing.
Fair play. I asked about the sliding doors moment and Ivan Cleary situation. What about you? A sliding doors moment that you think about the alternative happening?
Oh, I only just started recently thinking about it. 2013, Shane Flanagan rang me and wanted me to come to the Sharks.
Ah.
Yeah. Wanted to pair me up with Todd Carney. So little switcheroo. But I was always brought up on a handshake agreement and I'd already shaken hands with Gus. So I said no.
Wow. It's funny, I reckon there's heaps of players out there that have those situations where there's a phone call come in, or even think like Tedesco agreed with Canberra and the ability to backflip. Josh Papali'i at the Raiders agreed with Ricky Stewart at the Eels, goes on to become the club's greatest ever servant.
I love Flano. Like I love his style. I love his footy nous. So that was a hard one.
Finally, the most interesting person you've met along the way.
I've actually met the King.
Like Wally
King
Lewis?
Charles? No. Well, I've met both Kings, yeah. King Charles. Got to meet him.
When did you meet him?
At Bondi. There was a Aboriginal engagement.
You just sound like, just a Bondi.
Yeah.
Just a
there was
Bondi.
an Aboriginal engagement. I think there's a photo there somewhere, but he asked me what I'd be doing if I wasn't playing footy. And I said, probably working at Macca's. Like, that was the easiest thing to say. And he started laughing. So there's a good shot of both of us laughing with the King. So that was pretty cool. But he's just got these big hands.
Does he?
He's got these huge hands. And they're just big and red from shaking hands all the time. And
it must get pretty annoying that if you're the...
But my best one was actually meeting. Like, I still get giddy. Like, I see Cameron Smith, like, when I'm doing radio, and I see him walk back, and, like, he goes, hey, Sowie, and I go, oh, hey, Cam, and then he goes, oh, what's been happening? And I go, oh, my God, he's talking to me. Like, I still get that.
That's cool.
Like, when Joey, I'd love to sit down with those guys and just talk X's and O's and just have it mean nothing to anyone else, but just be in that room. So, when I met Wally, that was cool. All right.
Brilliant. Sowie, thanks so much for joining us on the Buy Round, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk footy, go down memory lane, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.